Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second session on weight maintenance. And here we are at Lighthouse Church. Thank you, Church, for coming. And this is what we did last time. We talked about self-monitoring. We talked about visibility and convenience, portion size. And today, we're going to review those, but add one more. We're going to talk about visual cues that tell us when we have had enough. So this study then is looking at food in four foods: grapes, chocolate, carrots, pretzels, in two conditions. One condition is in the desk drawer right here, and one condition is on top of the desk right here. And so on top of the desk is visible, in the desk drawer is not visible, but it is convenient. So here's grapes. When you moved it from inside to the top, it went up. Grape consumption went up about 17. Chocolate went up 25. Carrots went up 40. And pretzels went up about 25. So that changes it that much. We talked about this last time when we talked about candy kisses and how much of a difference it made. It makes a difference in everything. And so what this tells us is if you want to eat grapes and you want to eat carrots, keep them visible and accessible. You will eat more of anything that's within arm's reach and is easy to get to. So you want to make sure that you keep the things you want visible. Now here's chocolate. Chocolate is 25% more. Moving it from here to here, you eat 25% more chocolate. I always wondered if you had food sitting out, how much more you would eat. And so we ran some of these studies to determine it. So this works both ways. There's some people that want to gain weight. And if they want to gain weight, then you keep all these things visible. If you don't want to gain weight, you keep the chocolate not visible, but you keep all of the other foods visible. So that's just another study from what we had done last time. So another one on visibility and convenience, we put raisins, sun-made raisins, in the drawer, and people ate 2 boxes, these little tiny boxes of raisins. And then we put them on the desktop. And so they ate another half of a box worth when it was on the top. Just moving it from here to here increased consumption of eating that fruit. And then when we put 10 boxes instead of 5 boxes, it went from 2 boxes up to over 3. So when you have more of something, you eat more. Have you ever noticed the candy bowl in the office? As the candy bowl gets down, eventually there's only 1 or 2 left and nobody touches them because everybody's looking at them. And you don't want to be the last one to take the candy. And so nobody touches it. So we just do that. So if you want to eat more food, you have more food available. If you don't want to eat more food, then have less food available. So this is visibility and convenience. This is kind of an odd study. It's about spaghetti. And my wife would always take spaghetti, and she'd take half it away, put it in a box, shut the box, spread the spaghetti over her plate, and she'd have a half of a serving of spaghetti left. I use the other. I wait and eat all I want and then save what's left, and there's never anything left. So we ran a couple of studies with this, and what we showed was when you gave people a pre-meal to-go box, they actually put about 10 and a half, 11 away, and they didn't eat it. And then here so they only ate about 10 and a half, 11. Then you gave people the to-go box at the end of the meal, and they ate almost everything and didn't have any to save. And so another way that we can help ourselves, especially when we eat out, and those plates are so huge, is if there's too much to eat to begin with, put half of it away. And what this study showed is that you saved almost half of a serving to be able to eat the next day. So visibility, convenience makes a difference. It's one of the first keys we can do to help ourselves eat less if we pay attention to where the food is and how convenient it is. So we did this pistachio studies. The people at Paramount Farms heard about our candy study, that when we took candy kisses and you ate them, if instead of throwing away the wrapper, you took the wrapper and you let it pile up on the table. After a while, you'd say, man, look at all the candy I've eaten, and you'd slow down. And they asked, would that work with pistachios with the shell? And I said, I don't know. Give me some money. I'll hire some grad students, and we will test it. So we did. And what we did we had 129 students in 2 conditions. The shells were nuts with the shells and nuts in the shell. So these are shelled nuts. So we had one day, we had a bunch of shelled pistachios. They could take as much as they want, put it in a container, take it to their seat for class. And then we had nuts in the shell. Same thing. You could take as much as you wanted, sit down and eat. And this is what happened. This is the initial weight of what they chose. And so it didn't matter whether it was shelled or whether it was with the shell. They chose about the same weight. But you usually don't eat the shell. And so what happens is the weight consumed, which much less. So this one, they consumed almost all of it. This one, they didn't consume it all because you don't eat the shells. So what did that turn out to be? This is calories consumed. So here's the shelled pistachios. So you can take a scoop as much as you want and just eat them. And they ate about 275 calories. And then with the shell, they ended up eating about 125 calories. Look at the difference. So that's the calories initially selected. They just selected less. And then lo and behold, the blue here, they actually ended up eating a lot less. So what can you do with this? If you have something that slows you down, it's inconvenient, you will eat less and you won't really know it. So this study was done, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And they used this as a way to come up with a new marketing campaign for pistachios. And they called it the skinny nut because most nuts you eat, they're already shelled. Most of the time you eat pistachios with the shell on and it slows you down. Now, if they did this and the people with the shells ate less and they were so hungry when they were done, they went to McDonald's and bought a shake, it wouldn't work. So we asked them, are you full? And they turned out to be about the same fullness. Remember, they ate half as many pistachios, yet they were just as full. And then the blue here is satisfaction. They ended up to be almost the same satisfied. Isn't that amazing? You can eat half as much food and be just as full and just as satisfied if you slow down and you have something that makes the food inconvenient. So the first thing we talked about was that visibility and convenience. The second thing we talked about last time was size of dinnerware. We went through a bunch of studies. We're going to give a couple more studies here. Remember, we talked about the bowl of ice cream. And this is the bowl size, the scoop size, and the spoon size. And the dark here is looking at large and small. So here we have a bowl, large and small. It didn't make a lot of difference. Here we have the scoop, large and small. Well, the large scoop had people eat some more, but they didn't eat as much with the smaller scoop. Look at the spoon. When you are eating with a big spoon compared to a small spoon right here, it's less than half. You cut how much you were eating in half if you just used a small spoon. This is amazing. These first two talks were talking about the dining environment. How do we change the environment so we can just eat and eat less without knowing it? This shows what happened with that soup or the bowl experiment with the ice cream. Then we did this with little children. So this is kind of amazing. These are little 3 to 5 year olds. And this is an 8-ounce glass here. This is a 16-ounce glass. And we asked these children to pour themselves a drink and then to drink it. And so what happened is with this 8-ounce glass, the kids poured about 120. That's about 4 ounces. These little 3 to 5 year old kids had this little quart of milk. They kind of picked it up under their shoulder and aimed it toward the glass and poured it in the glass. Sometimes we had to help them lift up the container. They're only 3. Then we gave them a 16-ounce glass. And you can see here that they ate 180. So they went from about 4 ounces up to about 6 or 7 ounces. All because the size of the glass fooled the little 3 to 5 year olds. And they were able to drink more. In this case, we wanted the kids to have more milk, so we gave them a bigger glass. But for all of you that want to have less of something, you just use the reverse. We've been talking about glass size. So remember those little juice glasses we talked about last time? They're 6-ounce glasses, and they're still available. You can get those, and you can pour into those. We did a study once at Oral Roberts University, and we had the basketball team come over, and we fed them. And we fed them, and we gave them orange juice. It was all you could eat. And we gave orange juice in 12-ounce glasses. And they came in, these, huge people, and they took a glass of orange juice and they drank it. They took another glass and they drank it while they were walking through the line. So they had almost a quart of orange juice before they started, and then they grabbed another one and took it with them. So that's fine. They're athletes. They're burning it all off, but it's not so good for the rest of us. And so glass size makes a huge difference in how much you drink. And then this is glass size consumption. We did the same thing with students, 14 students and 28 faculty. This dark line is the large glass. This tan line is the small glass. So you can see with the students, university college students and the faculty, when they were consuming milk, they had maybe 125 ounces, and then it went down to about 100 ounces. With the faculty, it went from 180 ounces down to about 120 ounces. All of this happens just because of the size of the utensils that you're eating with. We did it with yogurt too. We gave these students a 10-ounce bowl in a 1 milliliter, a little tiny 1 milliliter tasting spoon that we got from Dairy Queen. And then a 22-ounce bowl, we gave them a regular 5 milliliter teaspoon. And we had them eat. And then we had a scoop also. You scooped it into your bowl. And the scoop was different too. We had a large scoop and a small scoop with these. So here's what we had. This, again, is large and small. And then the pink is how much they serve themselves between the large. Here's the large, and then here's the small. And the pink is what was served. The lighter one is what is consumed. You can see it went from about 100 down to about 55. So just the size. If you want to eat more yogurt, have a bigger bowl because yogurt's good. If it's the sugary kind with chocolate sprinkles and all the goodies added to it, you want a small bowl. So this is just a principle that you can use to eat more or less depending on the size of the bowl and the spoon that you're using. And this is the last one, I think. We had a faculty meeting, and there was probably a 4-hour faculty meeting. And half the people at the table had a 16-ounce glass, and half the people had a 32-ounce glass. And my students would walk around whenever they drank just a little bit. They would go by and fill it back up. They would fill it back up. And so what they ended up doing with the smaller glass, they were always being filled up over the 4 hours. The smaller glass, they drank about 7 ounces of soda. With the large 32, they drank 15. Fully 100% increase in how much they consumed. They're not paying attention. They're just in a meeting, a boring college meeting. And what happened was when we gave them a 16-ounce glass, they drank half as much. This is a quart, 32 ounces. That's the largest drinks that you can get, I think, now at Starbucks. And so they have these huge coffees, 32 ounce. So this is 2 cups, 2 8-ounce cups. This is 4 8-ounce cups. And we just kept filling their container and had them drink as much as they wanted. That should be amazing to you. This second principle, just eat, drink, use smaller utensils. All right. And so today, then, we're going to add something on visual cues, and we'll end with this. We're going to talk about candy bars, pistachios, and soup. What tells you you're done when you finish eating? Well, if you're eating slow, you get full, your body tells you you're full, and you stop. If you eat so fast, you can take a candy bar that can be 600 calories, a drink that's 1,000, 1,200 calories, and you just drink, eat, and it's gone, and you had 1,000 calories. You ate so fast, you bypassed all of the signals in your body that told you that you were full. And so candy bars are a good example of this. How many times have you taken a candy bar and you eat it and think, I'm going to save that last bite for later? Nobody does that. What tells you you're full? Yeah, the bar is gone. The bar's gone and you're done. Rarely do you finish one bar and grab another one. You wait for an hour, a day, whatever period of time it is, you get hungry again, you get another one. But something tells you that you're done when you finish a portion. So candy bars, visual cues tell you when you're done. So my advice, number one, is get smaller candy bars. If you get little tiny candy bars like this, that might be 200 calories, you'll finish it, you're done. If you get one of the bigger ones that's 600 calories, you eat it and you eat the whole thing until you're done. So aim for smaller portions. We're going to talk about more of this next week, but choose smaller candy bars. Now, you can get so small that your body goes, well, that's not a portion. And so you've got these little tiny bite-sized candies, the ones you give out at Halloween, sometimes smaller. And you sit down, you eat those. You eat 2, 3, 5, 10. In the afternoon, you got it by your desk and you eat 20, 30. And at the end of the day, you've had 40, 50, 60. And people say, what did you eat? You said, I didn't eat anything. I fasted all day and had a couple of candies. So I wrote an article once that little candies are evil because they don't tell you how much you've had. So yes, smaller is better, but you got to have a real portion, because if you start biting those individual bite candies, there is no way they can tell you how much you've had. Another good principle for candy. All right, pistachios. I always wondered, again, we talked about this empty shell thing earlier, that it worked with Hershey's Kisses, leaving the wrappers there. But when they asked me, would it work with pistachios, what we did was we had 17 faculty, and then one day we emptied the shells. We had 2 bowls on their desk. They had a bowl of pistachios and a bowl for shells. And then with one group, we emptied the shells all the time. We left them there. So the empty shells were left on the table. And so the build up. And so every hour throughout the day, my students would come in and they would give you more pistachios. But on this, they left the empty shells on the table and people went, oh my goodness, look at all those shells. And it helped them track how much they'd eaten. In this condition, they came in and gave them more pistachios every hour throughout the day, but they also emptied the shell container. And so people kept getting more pistachios. They lost track of how many they'd eaten because the shells were all gone. And this is what happened. When the shells were visible, they ate about 200 calories. When the shells were cleared, they ate about 260 calories, 270 calories. This all just comes from a visual cue. All of these people in these studies have eaten all they wanted and they were satisfied. And all we did here is take away that picture of the shells. And so there was a 22% increase when we cleared the shells and they lost track. And then like the other one, we asked them, are you full? Are you satisfied? And they were just about even on fullness and satisfied, yet they consumed 22% fewer calories. And then this might be the last one we're going to do today, is our soup bowl experiment. We had a table set up, and we had 4 bowls of soup on the table. We actually won a Nobel Prize for this. Well, it wasn't a Nobel Prize. It was an Ig Nobel Prize. And an Ig Nobel is a spoof award. And it is something to say this might have some value, but it's really goofy. And so we did. That year, we won the Ig Nobel Prize for this study. And we had 4 bowls of soup on the table. We had a pot there. Take more from the pot if you want. Nobody ever did. They finished their bowl and they were done. Now, what they didn't know is that the 2 bowls right here were being fed from a tube from the pot under the table to the bowl. So every time they ate, it filled back up. Every time they ate, it filled back up. These 2 bowls, people would eat, they get to the bottom of the bowl, and they were done. Well, these people didn't know it was refilling. And so there was one lady that came in, and she started chatting. And I got this whole thing flowing just right. We bring them in, and she talked, and the bowl started coming higher, higher, higher. We all looked down, and the soup is flowing over the top of the bowl. Okay, get out of my experiment. We had to start all over. There was one kid, big kid, and he came in, and he ate, and he found, there's something, and he could see the bottom of the bowl. He moves his spoon around. I said, there's something moving in the bottom of my bowl. He jumped up from the chair. He came over. He grabbed me, and he said, Dr. Painter, there's something moving in my bowl. He grabbed me. He pulled me back to the bowl. By that time, it had filled up a little bit, so there was no more motion in there. And I said, young man, just eat what you want. There's nothing in your bowl, which is true. You can imagine his surprise when he got done. We lifted up the skirt of the table, and we showed him that soup was being poured from the pot into his bowl. So he kept eating and eating and eating. And he ended up eating about 3 bowls of soup when he thought he had had 1. So visual cues are important. This is just a picture of the study. So we had standard bowls. This is the normal bowl right here. Those people ate about 150 milliliters. So that's a little over half. It's about 5 ounces. And so they ate 5 ounces. They stopped. This refillable bowl, they ended up eating about 260 ounces. This is the actual consumption. That's what they did. Again, nobody knew it. Nobody's dieting here. Nobody's actually even paying attention to what they're eating. And if we do all of these, changing the dining environment, we eat less and we don't even know it. Now, this is interesting. This is how much they thought they ate. So they estimated they ate about 120 here, and they ate about 120 here. So there's a guy sitting across the table from you eating 3 bowls of soup. And you eat about half of a bowl of soup. And you look at it and go, how much did we eat? Oh, about the same. Because you trusted the bowl to tell you how much you had eaten, and the bowl was lying to you. Okay, soup experiment. So what we did, we talked about writing it down, and we'll just briefly talk about that here just for a moment. When you write things down on a card, and so we have these little cards that people can take and write down on it, and we've asked everybody to write everything down on a card. Now, what does that do? If you write it down on the card, it tracks what you ate, and you go, wow, day by day, you can see what you've eaten. This works even better if you write it down before you put it in your mouth, and that's what I'm asking you to do here. We did it last time. You have this card in your pocket. You get your food out. Before you eat the food, you put it down, and you write it on this piece of paper. Now, what this does for me is about 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night. I think I've had a hard day. People have been mean to me all day. I'm going to soothe myself with M&Ms. And I get the M&Ms, I pull them out, and I go, whoa, I've had M&Ms 3 times today already. I don't need the M&Ms. It gives us a chance to decide if we want to eat that food right now or wait till later. You're not dieting. You're not saying I'm never going to eat it again. You're just not going to eat it right now. And so that is still going on. We're going to do that for another week. Write it down. Keep things out of sight. We've talked about that so many times. Last week, we talked about the candy kisses. And remember, when it was on the desktop compared to in the desk drawer, people ate 30% less. And when you had to stand up from your chair and get it, you ate 60% less. So keep it out of sight. Make it inconvenient. Use smaller dinnerware. And now what we've talked about is use visual cues. Be aware of what's telling you how much you have eaten and use it to your advantage. My friend did a study with Lay's potato chips, and he went to the company and he had them color every 10th chip, red or blue, I can't remember, but it was colored and it wasn't white potato. And so people be eating and go, oh, there's a red one. And they eat some more, and, oh, I'm to another red one. Oh, I'm to another red one. And so when you have an unending supply of something, you don't know how much you've eaten. And if you have something that gives you some idea of how much you've eaten, then you can end up saying, I think I've had enough. And though your stomach hasn't told you you've had enough, you can stop because you look at it and think, wow, look what I've eaten. All right. So these visual cues are very important to help us to eat less, and we don't really even know it. We haven't yet in this class, in 2 classes, we've not told you not to eat anything or to even cut down how much you're eating. This all has to do with changing the dining environment. Now, next week, we'll continue on with a little bit of this, but we're going to start talking about what you think and how what you think has a great effect on how much you eat. All right. Thank you, church family. Thanks for coming. We'll do this again next week. Bye-bye. Okay. Did that work better than last time, Maggie? Could